So tour testing never stops. It's happened years and years and years ahead of what SM10 is today. It's just this culmination of trying to gather information from the best players in the world, regardless of what tour you're on, to see, are we paying attention to the right things? Are we creating grooves that spin the best? Are we working on CG, getting the flights right? So it never really stops. The difficult part sometimes is figuring out a way to put it into something and make it truly work that fits a little bit of everybody.
It's funny, we keep definitely tweaking. There's always room to tweak out. Because what we'll be finding this, what happens really, it's through all the testing that we do, it's a lot of the times that we do right, continually test. One thing we cannot replicate, but can't replicate what it does on a backside Sunday afternoon in the hands of the best players in the world. Something a little tweak, they may see something that shot goes a little not the way they wanted to, then it's brought to our attention. There was nothing major if you'd say, but those other things, that's what we'd like to do.
Yeah, so we'll use one of the CG changes we made with SM10 this time around was understanding how much face rotation affects what golfers do on full shots. So on 46 or 52, your CG is now more face center, and that's to allow this face to slow down its turning effect through the ball, reducing how much draw bias flights you get. So a lot of players were saying, every time I get into a situation where I have to swing a little faster or pick up a couple more yards, I feel like the wedge tends to want to draw a little more than I like. And so that's where I come home and I sit down with our engineers and with Bob and say, what do you think about moving the CG a little more face-centered on just these lofts to eliminate some of that draw bias flight?
I like to do it locally when I live in here, Carlsbad, California. I have people like Charlie Hoffman, Bob Bernice. We're continually in the area. They say, I got something for top, and he always says, well, what do you have? First off, one thing I always look at, what is a profile? Profile has to be pleasing. Profile gives you the feeling and confidence, feeling you below to hit the shot. Yeah. And then they look at it all the time, then they say, what's the bounce? What happened? Then they'll hit a feature of turf interaction. They look. Then if it's a sand wedge or out the way, they'll turn around and go in the bunker and they hit different shots. When they look at it, right, if they really work on it, right, go out on their trajectory. They always like to hit the ball, keep it down lower than down lower. It's almost like you cannot hit the ball lower enough.
Yeah, so the seeding process has changed a lot over the years. We used to seed in Las Vegas, and our player pool was enormous back then, but it's not quite as big as it is today. So we were able to, Bob and I get together with every player, make sure they were where they needed to be with their product. Today it's a little different. We have more players than we've ever had, and because of that, we sort of need to divide and conquer and make sure that we're getting these out to the right people at the right time. So our launch will initially start December, and we'll give that first early batch to the qualifiers for the Tournament of Champions, or the Century, and they'll get their first crack at it. They'll get to practice with it through December, put it in play on January 1st. And then once we get out of Hawaii and we start in the desert, that's where the main launch kicks on. And we'll have 5 to 6 bodies out there to help us identify who we have to see. We'll text and call and just make sure that we get together with everybody we can before we leave that week. Well, the grinds don't typically change. So if you look at our matrix, we have a ton of grinds. Players love what we're doing with our soles, our bounces, and our different grind shapes. And so I try not to change those things. I'll get together with Bob and say, hey, we're seeing this trend in turf changes. Things are getting firmer or softer. We're seeing more Bermuda grass. And because of that, players are adapting to these different types of grinds that move through those situations better. And that's where we can start to explore and study different grinds and ways that we can make golf a little bit easier for those conditions.
I'll have the 48 F. Now I have the 52 F. Now I have the F line. I like both sole. I'm old school, straight person, old school. I'll have that in the 14th degree, the F line. military around. I always like the M guy. Always my call. It's always was my favorite way. Heel toe training engine. It's very versatile way. In fact, that is my lot. A little less bounce. I've always liked the higher bounce sandbag and the lower bounce locker. Gives you, I call it, the right tools in the toolbox, so you can do the job.